Hey everyone. Malik Yusef, longtime Kanye collaborator dating back to before College Dropout. He's won multiple Grammys with Kanye, been part of good music for a long, long time. Um, he was recently in the news because of the TMZ, like someone stole Kanye's identity, which ended up being like a lot of bullshit. Like it was a misunderstanding that got reported in a very overdramatic way. Like the identity theft wasn't real, the forged signature wasn't real. Uh, it was just bad. It was TMZ being TMZ. So that sucked for Malik in the short term, as a lot of people are like, "What's going on, man?" And he had to suffer kind of the slings and arrows of social media. But there was a lot of, I guess, good that came out of the situation, and just the fact that Malik is pretty active on Twitter anyway, but the last few days since this uproar, he's just been very interactive with everybody. And there have been so many good tidbits that have come out of this from just his commentary on Kanye and what's going on with Yandhi that I've just been pulling so many of his tweets to kind of go over in this video. And I know the classic thing would be to like go through and actually pick out the relevant ones and arrange it all nicely, but we're just going to kind of rapid fire through them. So it might be a little rough at times. I appreciate you bearing with me because there really is, at least all of these were the ones that I was just like, we should talk about that. We should talk about that. So you're at least getting things that I thought were good. It's they're not in any order that I remember because there's like 40 of them. So let's get going through this. And if it starts taking too long, I'll break it into a part two. Otherwise, we're going to go. So I hope you're ready. All right, we're going to start here. Favorite Yeezy, 750 Statue Gray. Cool. Got to make sure. I can't tell you how many videos I've recorded without the cord being plugged in and then had to re-record everything because there's no audio. Who's been working with Ye for the bars on this one, being Yandhi? You are a staple, but is GLC out here? Sci-Hi, Sean, Consequence? Yep. So some of the classic good music people, longtime Kanye collaborators. It ever releasing, referring to Yandhi. You got to understand, family, that song is super... Oh, no, I'm sorry, not Yandhi. So they were talking about Can You Be and Living So Italian and Mama's Boyfriend. This fam 073111084 said 3 songs I need before I die. You ever heard them? Yeah, of course. And Malik said Mama's Boyfriend, though. If you haven't heard Mama's Boyfriend, just pause the video, Google Dat Piff, DATPIFF, Mama's Boyfriend, and you'll get one of the Kanye like fan-made mixtapes, and it's on there. The song's so good. I only heard it for the first time like 3 or 4 months ago. I was blown away. Like, that should be a song that has like a CD quality version. But as Malik was saying, that you got to understand that song is super emotional. It's about her mother, and none of us are over her loss yet. That song make me cry every single time I hear it. Like, you have that trifecta of Donda songs that can just break you down. I guess 4 of them. Hey Mama, Only One, Coldest Winter, and Mama's Boyfriend. All 4 are such great songs, though, for very different reasons, very different attitudes in each one. Real quick, will he be changing the cover art for Yandhi? And this is just Malik kind of talking about what cover art he would want for the album. This is one that I thought was initially him talking about the cover art. And I was just like, oh shit, that's a big change. And didn't realize until I tried making this video last night and didn't have the wire plugged in what it really was. I had gotten rid of the tab though. And then that was another one. So this is Donda Social hiring, and it seems like there might be some job positions at Donda Social at some point in time. Donda Social was created earlier in 2018, and Malik has been kind of in charge of overviewing it, but it still hasn't quite gotten up off the ground and running in the way that it should. The potential deal with the Pleef, whatever the fashion guy was supposed to be one of the things that started the funding for Donda Social, but with that falling through, that still has to kind of find its rhythm. So I'm sure there might be an update on that sometime in 2019. This is Nino Blue on Yandhi. So Nino Blue, you may remember from the day that Kanye was going to do or did Saturday Night Live, that earlier in that day he tweeted out or he Instagrammed a video of him and this kid Nino Blue, and Kanye captioned the video Nino Blue, or this is Nino Blue. And Nino is an aspiring rapper who happened to be living on the street in New York City at that time. And he ran into Kanye and started telling Kanye a story, and Kanye put him like on the video and blasted him out to the world. And what's cool is that we saw that video and saw that Nino was on Twitter and kind of talked with him for a little bit. And he said that he was finally ready to tell his story, and we actually got him on the podcast. So there's a whole hour-long interview with me and Nino where Nino details what led to him being on the streets in New York City that day. It was an internship with Charlemagne the God that fell through, and then that's why he went from Florida up to New York City. And then the guy he was living with ended up getting kicked out of the apartments. So then he was on the street, and it just happened to be when Kanye was in town. He ran into Kanye that morning at like 7 in the morning and actually ended up in the studio with Kanye working on Yandhi, which was crazy. So you can hear the whole story. Like, Nino's so well-spoken, so engaging. I think it's one of the episodes that we get the most comments on. So Alexander Hamilton was asking, is Nino Blue going to be on the album? And Malik just saying, I'd be talking to him on the regular. I was just actually on the phone with Nino last night, which was kind of cool. So check out Nino, what else? Anthony asked, Malik, bro, random ass question. What did Ye and the crew do with all their Nike Yeezys once he went to Adidas? Also, we need some Adidas Red Octobers. Yeah. God, could you imagine Yeezy 350 V2s, like the Red October edition? Just all fucking... I'm so mad that doesn't exist. Most of us still be rocking ours. He obviously cannot, though. Yeah, no. What else do we got? Tell Ye we still need TurboGrafx 16, Yeezus film. This was kind of funny. Sylvester. Watch the Throne 2, Cruel Winter, Good Ass Job, Yandhi, and more Kids See Ghost projects. A tour is in order, please and thank you. And Malik was just like, that's a long ass list of demands. Who the fuck you got that you holding hostage? Which cracked me up. What's Kanye's go-to McDonald's meal? And Malik reveals he be getting us nuggets and shit usually. Just a side note on nuggets. I grew up in a small town in Ohio, like 5,000 people. And as a kid in the 90s, all I ever got with nuggets was honey. Like they had packets of honey that you could dip the nuggets into. Years of my life go by, and I realize that nobody uses honey for nuggets. Everybody uses barbecue sauce or honey mustard or hot sauce. Like, I tell people honey for nuggets, and people think I'm weird. It's so bizarre to me. So, what do you use for dipping chicken nuggets, and did you ever use honey? Because this is something I really need to know. I'm still weirded out by it. What's this? Ben Blue asked, is the 808s tour thing still happening? Hell the fuck yeah. Me and Kanye just spoke about that shit. So in 2018, it was announced that Malik was going to be doing a tour in cities across America of 808s and Heartbreak. But the concept, which was really awesome, was that in each city, it was going to be local artists performing 808s and Heartbreak. So they'd start with Say You Will. I don't know if they'd do Pinocchio Story or if it would end with Coldest Winter, but they would perform the entire album with a bunch of local acts and each person doing a song or however they're going to work it out, which I just think that would be incredible. Logistically challenging, but incredible. So hopefully that still happens. If you could describe Yandhi in one word, what would it be? The term chaotic order somehow comes to mind. I fucking know that's not a word, though. Yeah, but chaotic order, that duality and dichotomy, I feel like chaotic order is a good word for describing Kanye in general. Like, to a lot of us, we're like, what is Kanye doing? Like, this seems so confusing, or like, why is he doing that? Why is he saying that? But I think if we were to know what Kanye was actually thinking and the larger plan that he had in mind, or a lot of the reasons why he was saying or doing the things he was doing, would all be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I think he has a plan that not all of us always understand. Malik, are we going to hear some soul samples on Yandhi? I'm almost positive that we get that type of sauce from Bro, which is cool. And I think that it makes a lot of sense because if you look at Kanye's discography, we got the soul samples on College Dropout and Late Registration, which are the most innocent albums in Kanye's discography. As the attitude starts to change and Kanye starts exploring the darker side of celebrity, that beautiful dark twisted fantasy, like Graduation leaves behind the soul sample. The innocence is lost. And then you have 808s and Heartbreak. Like, why would the fuck would you have soul samples on there? Just because the soundscape needs to be so much darker and so much heavier and moodier. Same thing with My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Same thing with Yeezus. It's not until Bound 2 that you get this semi-resurrection of the soul sound. And in Life of Pablo, you have that duality of the soundscape as Kanye's struggling with the new Kanye versus the old Kanye, which is why you have Father Stretch My Hands, part 1 and part 2, why Famous is followed by Feedback, which is why Lowlights and Highlights have that dichotomy, which is why Highlights has that upbeatness to it, followed by Freestyle 4, which is so dark and ugly. It's why Waves, the first verse, is so aggressive and the second verse is so soulful. Because Kanye's struggling with which soundscape, which person, because each soundscape is a different attitude and a different kind of behavior. And he finally chooses to go more with the old Kanye by the end of the album. And I think that's why we see on Ye a change in the soundscape. The first 3 songs are darker because that album starts in a darker place. But the last 4 tracks, end up being a soundscape that we hadn't heard from Kanye in a long time. Like, a lot of people talk about how Wouldn't Leave and No Mistakes, and in some ways Violent Crimes, all kind of harken back to an older Kanye. So it makes sense that coming out of Ye, Yandhi would have a similar aesthetic that's progressing back to that innocence and that joy that we got with more of the soul sample sound. Here we got just a please, but Malik said, we did get together in person last night, but we spoke on the phone for like an hour. We're honestly and truly trying to figure out how to deliver this hot shit to y'all in various forms and multiple mediums in the fucking flyest way imaginable. And I think this was just getting at, oh yeah, tell Ye to invite fans to the next listening party. I'll hit him up about that. That's a good idea. You know, if he invites people he's following on Twitter, that would be great. I would love that. Or people that make podcasts about him. Those people should definitely be invited. But yeah, Yandhi being an album that has more ways of being delivered, as Malik was saying, would be awesome. But I'd just be happy with the album. Like, that's fine. Just give me that. Like, would all be good. That was that again. Does Kanye still freestyle his verses? I read today that he didn't write down any raps for College Dropout. Wonder if he still does it today. And some writing, though, not much, was Malik's response. And I had actually followed up by saying he apparently didn't write until My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. There's interviews with him saying that when he worked on Fantasy, he was just like, you know, this is the first time I'm writing lyrics. That's why the album's so good. Before, it was always just memorization. And that's kind of true. But Kanye, since the beginning, has had people film him whenever he's working on albums. And I think today he just always has somebody around filming, whether he's working on albums or fashion. And a lot of that wasn't just for like potential documentaries, because we've never gotten a fucking documentary, but it was because he would go back and rewatch the footage. So if he suddenly had inspiration for a rap, he would rap it and then be able to go and watch the video rather than being like, that was awesome, I forget everything I just said. So there was an interview with somebody that was the initial filmographer who talked about how he was constantly playing video or recording back for Kanye so Kanye could memorize his raps. And then another technique that Kanye would use, there's all these stories of him rapping at waitresses, bus drivers, people working at the venue, other rappers, people in offices when he was going for interviews, Seth Rogen and Seth Rogen's wife. When he was on the set for Anchorman 2, Will Ferrell and Judd Apatow talked about how Kanye would just be rapping to the hair and makeup people. He rapped to them. Everybody had a story about Kanye rapping to them. And it just seems to be something that he would do in order to get feedback on lyrics, but also it would help him memorize and work through the song. He'd be able to try out lines and be like, okay, that didn't land. Did you like this? Okay, I tried this with this person. I tried this with that person. The second one worked better. So he always had a bit more of a collaborative style in bringing in other people's opinions, which is what it sounds like he does with his group that actually works on the album as well. But I said Malik could correct me if I'm wrong, and Malik responded with, yeah, that's 99% of it there. He, at the time, would scribble a thought or two, but pretty much no structured writing. What else do we got? Is Pablo just Swish with a different title, or did they both have different and some of the same tracks? There's definitely some cross-pollination. And this dates back to the fact that we initially had the announcement of the 7th album following what? It was late 2012, I think, or like mid 2013, like not long after Yeezus came out. So what, that was 2013? Okay. So it was like fall of 2013, Kanye said that the 7th album would arrive by mid 2014. And then 2014 came and went. We got into 2015. And at one point, we got the announcement that the album was going to be called So Help Me God. And it seemed like a lot of the songs from So Help Me God got shifted off or given away, right? Like All Day was just released as a single. 4 or 5 Seconds was just released as a single. I Feel Like That never really got an official release. God Level, we never heard a full version of that. Piss on Your Grave got thrown to Travis. Another song got thrown to Big Sean. And there was a couple other that just got like sent into the ether. And then what? It was later, we had heard Wolves was going to be a thing, but there was rumor that Wolves was actually going to be on the Drake Kanye album, that the album was called Wolves. So that's wild to think about, that he reappropriated that from when we first heard it at New York Fashion Week in 2015. So February of 2015. So it seems like at least the Wolves concept was in the works before we heard about Swish, and was maybe part of the So Help Me God run of things. And then when Kanye kind of dumped So Help Me God, we then ended up at the end of 2015 hearing Facts, getting the Good Fridays announcement, getting Real Friends, getting that it was going to be called Swish, and then Waves, and then Life of Pablo. So Swish was the next iteration after So Help Me God. And I think a lot of the songs from So Help Me God were already gone. And what ended up being Pablo kind of got started. But you still have some loose songs like Fell Out of Heaven and a couple others that never got finished. So I wonder if some of those were going to be on Swish before we finally got what we got with Pablo. But this seems to confirm that there was some things on Swish that didn't make it to the eventual Pablo release, which is kind of cool to know. Anyway, that's that. Would you say Yandhi is a conclusion to his career or the beginning of a new era for Ye, a new start? And I think that's in line with what we saw on Ye. On Ye, the first half of the album seems to be killing off or getting rid of or moving away from that darker aspect of your psyche. And that darker aspect of the psyche had really taken over in Graduation and then been present on 808s, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. After Kanye falls into the fantasy, we have Yeezus and Pablo. that are these morphed versions of Kanye. And then you have Ye, which is a return to Kanye being Kanye. It's no wonder that that album starts with I Thought About Killing You and ends with a song called Violent Crimes, which killing somebody is a violent crime. And that song seems to be getting at kind of the concept that to be the father that he wants to be, he's killing off this kind of monster aspect of him that had existed. And go figure that you have, what's her face? Nicki Minaj come in at the end of Violent Crimes, and she gives a very, it's just a voicemail from her saying how she would say some lines on that song, which seems inconsequential, just more like a nod to the fact that like, oh, it's nice that Nicki like left a voicemail for this. Why put it on the album? But Kanye is a big fan of The Holy Mountain, a movie that is so bizarre and weird. But at the very end, as these characters have gone in search of the Holy Mountain that would make them immortal, they find these wise men who tell them, like, this is a movie. What you're looking for doesn't exist. And he actually talks to the camera and says, like, camera back. And the camera zooms out. And he says, reality is here and reality is now. Like, go off and, like, live in the real world. So it's this very meta, like, breaking of the fourth wall where you actually see the film crew around everybody. And the actors are like, what the fuck? And reality is upon us really captures that idea of Holy Mountain, that whatever fantasy you thought you were in, there's this reality that now exists. It just so happens Nicki was the intro on My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy and gave this very stylized and fictional intro. So you have this bookend of the fictional intro introducing us to the fantasy with the realistic outro of Ye, which kind of puts an end to the fantasy. And it just so happens that what are some of the first words on Ye? And I Thought About Killing You. The most beautiful thoughts are always beside the darkest. That beautiful and darkest combination can't help but recall My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. So you have all these resonances between My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy and Ye ends with kind of this killing off of the fantasy and a return to reality. So it makes sense that there's this new start that's going to happen on Yandhi, which kind of seems the inversion then of the Yeezus character. Yeah. What else do we got? Malik, is Kanye still recording or is he in the mastering phase now? Anything could have happened between last night and tonight. This is going to be funny because some of these tweets are from February 10th and February 11th. And Malik at some point makes it seem like Yandhi is in the finishing stages. And then there are tweets from like the 14th and 13th. And nah, things changed. What about Swish, Pablo? That's what kicked off that conversation. Just praising Kanye producing 5 tracks. Malik, be honest, fam, is Yandhi a spiritual successor to Yeezus or just a similar play on words? I think the title ties them together. Yeah. Kanye being the artist he is wouldn't miss that opportunity. And there's a reason why when he first teased the image of Yandhi, he used the jewel case with the purple tape, which couldn't help but recall Yeezus. And Yeezus was so much ego that he picked the smaller case and he's talked about killing his ego. That's the level Kanye's on. Fucking wild. We still have so many tabs. What happens to songs that don't make the album? This is really cool. Okay. You may remember that a couple years ago, I think it was 2017 or maybe 2016, somebody talked about how there was a patent or a trademark for Yeezy sound, and nobody knew what it was. Maybe it was even early 2018. But there was speculation on what it could be. Was it going to be a streaming service that Kanye started? Was it going to be something with like good music specifically? Was it going to be a branch of good music? Nobody knew. There was a lot of theories. This is the first I'm aware of anybody giving any information about what Yeezy sound is. And it's Malik saying to songs that don't make Kanye's albums, they go to Yeezy sounds. And they're recycled into new songs that we sometimes give to other artists and shit like that. It's weird, like a laboratory. That's how Drake got Find Your Love and so many other people. So it really seems to be a way that Kanye takes the music that he worked on and rather than just scrapping it, is able to turn it into a product that he's then able to sell to others and make money off of. And people should be making money off of all this work that they put in. So that's kind of cool because it's a way for Kanye to continue his musical influence without having to actually go in and sit down and produce something. He's just essentially putting out a catalog that other artists can come and like shop in and take what they want. Yeah. What else do we got? On a side note, brother, what's your favorite Kids See Ghost track? Too Many Records, by the way, has a YouTube channel. We've actually interviewed Matt on the podcast. We did a story with him, and you can watch that if you want or listen to it. But you should check out his YouTube channel, Too Many Records. But Fourth Dimension, Malik said, was his favorite song from Kids See Ghosts. Jakey Poo asked, was Cop Shot the Kid originally on the OG Ye album? Plus, will he ever drop the version of Lift Yourself where he's actually rapping? It was, and he might. This is the first I've heard that being a thing. We knew that there was a version of Ye that Charlemagne the God heard in like March when those two sat down for an interview. That Charlemagne was kind of teasing before the interview dropped April 1st. And we know from sources some other of the details of the OG version, some of the guest features and things. We know from some of the videos that there was the hopped off the Amistad and made I'm a God and things like that. And everybody was starting to get pretty hyped. But I don't think I knew that Cop Shot the Kid was supposed to be on Ye, unless it was on the board at one point and I'm just forgetting. But interesting that it went from being a Kanye song to being a Nas song. And there's so many people have such strong feelings about the Nas album either way. I could see people really wondering if like what the collaboration was between Kanye and Nas, if Kanye was putting one of his songs on Nas's album. Interesting. I hope we can get like the full details of what went down with the planning of each of the albums and how involved Kanye was one day. That'd be so fascinating. Is 80 Degrees on the album, though? As I last heard, it was. 80 Degrees was a song, I think it got teased in one of the videos that Kanye released. That was like a minute long, and we got kind of like a CD quality version of the music, and everybody was kind of like, oh. And you can see the reactions that people are like excited. This is one of the few named tracks on Yandhi that we have, and one of the ones that we've gotten to hear a little bit of. So of course people have kind of attached to it the same way that they did Wolves, and we're hoping that Wolves made Pablo. My calendar. What else do we got? Malik, is there a ton of features on Yandhi, or is it mainly Ye? This was cool too. We usually do like 4 to 5 versions of every song, then bro do the surgery on that shit, and we put it back together like a jigsaw puzzle. We don't often see the end result until the end. So Kanye, much like a filmmaker, will take multiple shots of something and then try to figure out which take is the best, or sometimes merge multiple takes together to get the final product that he wants. So having 4 to 5 versions of every song is kind of bonkers. But bonkers, what a word. You may be familiar, though, with Pablo, that there were a bunch of unused guest verses, right? Like The Weeknd ended up being the outro or the feature on FML, but there was a version with like Travis Scott or The Game or someone. And then there was a version of Famous with Madonna or Highlights with Madonna. Just a bunch of different people on different songs. You're just like, he had that person on that song, and we never get to hear it. Or there was the DMX Real Friends, which is fucking awesome. So we got to see a bit of that on Pablo, I think more so than at least what I'm aware of on some of the other albums in terms of just unused features and unused versions. Of course, we all know that there were multiple versions of Bound 2 for Yeezus and some other versions of other tracks. We know with Runaway that there was initially like a 20-minute version of Runaway that ended up getting cut down and changed. So, man, it'd be crazy to hear some of those versions. I know Ye albums get finished on a whim, but does Yandhi sound like it's nearing that stage of completion? I'm going to say finishing touches stage, which induced so much hype. You can see that has 186 likes, 46 retweets. People are really excited. That excitement's not going to last. On the real, is there actually a chance we could get Yandhi tonight or sometime this month? I don't want to get y'all hopes up, but he's been working all week. What's up with the awful features on Yandhi? Tekashi and X are apparently on it, which, there are people that have tremendous issues with Tekashi and X, as Tekashi and X were both controversial figures. There's others that love the music and kind of separate that from the person. Malik offers a very respectful, Ye be experimenting with sounds and styles and energy. So it's just more about the music that he's feeling and the energy that he's getting. And that's very true. He does do that a lot. Is Yandhi all new material, or does it have some pre-Wyoming Ye on it? All new shit. So that's confirmation. I know for a while I was saying, up until I read this actually, that Kanye's announcement of Yandhi so soon after Ye made me think that Yandhi had been the album he was working on, and that Ye was kind of a concept he created following the TMZ and Trump backlash. Or maybe it was an idea that he had for Yandhi, but he kind of broke off part of it and made it its own album. And then Yandhi was going to continue on with more of the core concepts that he was exploring there. But that seems like it not going to be the case, that it's all new material, that it was just all after Wyoming. Happy to be wrong there. Why hasn't Kanye been on social media? He taking care of his mental and spiritual health. Fellaini's elbow. Is it all beats, or are there some rhymes too? Because Rick Rubin said Kanye did all the lyrics to Yeezus 2 weeks before release. It's blended. Ye has improved as an artist and producer, in my opinion. So this is just getting to the idea of what comes first, the chicken or the egg, right? Does Kanye do all the beats and try to find lyrics to the beats? Does he do lyrics and then try to find beats for the lyrics? And as Malik's saying, it tends to be a bit of both, which I know from my own writing in fiction and poetry that I tend to have the concept in mind as I'm, writing things out, but you're open to the discovery of things, whether it's, you're going to go in with a certain rhyme scheme or a certain structure to the book, which is no different from kind of the production that you want to have for a song, but kind of what you're going to put into that space lyrically, writing wise. But you still discover a lot as you start to flesh out the structure, and you start to change the structure as you flesh out the writing. So it's always a blend. Philip, are we in for a new sound, or does it sound closer to any of his older records? I'm hoping for some hard-hitting drums like on 808s. To me, it's pretty different than all of our past stuff, but Ye got a new A&R who is basically a skilled MC and is critically listening. I'm really interested in that. I want to know who the A&R is. I want to interview them. I want to be their friend. All these things. But that change in dynamic, having somebody with that sharper ear, could be a nice twist in what Kanye does. Like, we saw the influence that Cudi had on 808s, in My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, then the influence Travis Scott had on Yeezus, the influence everybody on the Notepad had on Life of Pablo. So it'd be cool to see what this other person brings to the table and how that shapes Yandhi. Dole's memes. Does Yandhi have the grandness of My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy? It picked up some African rhythms from the land, but it was more aggressive, kind of in that My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy area, but knowing him, it could change tomorrow. Yes. Malik, can we expect a Q1 release? There's no reason why I would think we wouldn't. That actually lines up with what we had heard from a source that we had to expect in Q1. But who knows? Kanye said in 2013 to expect Pablo in 2014, and we did get it to a year and a half later until February 14th of 2016. Jesus. So who knows when we'll get Yandhi. You said you didn't like the original Ye because the vibe was too dark, though. No, that was the version prior to Wyoming. So I wonder if like Ye prior to Wyoming was all kind of just darker things. I mean, the soundscape of like Hopped Off the Amistad and I Made I'm a God was really dark. There was the other beat that we heard in some other video that he had posted that was very like minimalist and brooding. Curious. This is Malik's TED Talk. There was a link to it. What else do we got? So we're almost through. Almost. How long is this? 35 minutes? I've done longer videos. Incopulate has me deceased. I knew Kanye was making a language, but I was like, Malik is too. So this is in Malik's statement about what happened with the Philip Plein shirts and everything, all the TMZ stuff. He used the word incopulate and kind of laughed about it. He was trying to say incapacitated. And he's like, the funny shit is that we're working together on his dictionary. The word should be non-capitulate. Yeah. My voice just went up so high. Yeah. Aesthetic anesthetic ass ethics. Wait. Aesthetic anesthetic 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 aesthetic anesthetic ass ethics. What a journey. You do recall that Kanye got Trump to wear a Make America Great hat the day he visited the White House. Unless that was a misreporting, I have a picture somewhere in my library I will check. I disagree with again, but I see the power in wearing the hat. That would be amazing, but Ye told me this weekend that he stopped with the hat shit. So Malik has said that multiple times. GLC just did an interview with Van Lathan, and GLC said the same thing, that Kanye sent GLC all of the hats and said, I'm done with them. So this is now two different people that have talked about Kanye being done with the hat. Malik, how does Ye feel about Drake's shout out for the anniversary of So Far Gone? I know the beef is overplayed. He be trying to help Drake still. Kanye wants to help everybody. He just wants good vibes. He wants to ride the wave. As much as he and Drake had beef, the beef from Kanye's side was just always, let's work this shit out and respect me as like an OG, respect me as your elder. So Drake, So Far Gone was his mixtape. Is that what So Far Gone was his mixtape. And he just released it digitally. Before, there were only like 4 songs available, so the full thing is now available. But one of the songs samples Say You Will, and Drake had asked for clearance, which is the thing. I think that was the day that Kanye had like the 127 tweets about Drake, or maybe it was the week later that he tweeted about Drake again. And Kanye was just like, yo, you're going to avoid talking to me for months and then ask me to clear a sample? Like, no, not cleared. But today, which is the anniversary of the mixtape, it came out and it seemed to have been cleared. And Drake, in his Instagram post, just thanked Kanye and said something along the lines of like, even though you're wilding on Twitter, or you won't stop wilding on Twitter, like, I respect everything that you've done for like the game and for myself. So still a little like, I don't know, giving Kanye shit, but at the same time being respectful in a way that he hadn't been for like all of 2018. So that's at least something. As much as like a lot of us have been like, fuck Drake. At the end of the day, Kanye wants to like Drake. Kanye wants to have a positive relationship with Drake. I don't want that negativity in my life either. I would love for them to just be on the same page and be good. So I'd like to be off the fuck Drake bandwagon, as long as Drake stops doing things that make me say fuck Drake. So this is a nice step forward. I thought you said it was going through finishing touches. Yeah, that was then though. So there's a few tweets in this vein. So it's probably a little bit before we see the final product, I would think. Do you feel he will be ready spiritually to drop it by the end of February? So this was the long build up to that. Y'all got to understand that when we deal with a creative genius like a Kanye West, the issue be that he's always creating. So shit get old and stale for him real fast. So the team got to kind of support the process and strike fast. And it seems like that's kind of been the cycle, right? Like he had what he wanted when he was going to release it at the end of September, but shit happened. And he was like, no, I'm gonna change. I'm gonna go to Africa. I'm gonna get some of that energy. And then he revamped the album and seemed like he was gonna release it soon after. And then it got pushed back again. And it seems like he's just going through different phases of what he's putting out there. Was TurboGrafx 16 scrapped? It's never that cut and dry, which is cryptic and doesn't provide a lot of information. So whatever I'm saying here is just utter speculation. But from everything we've talked about in Malik's other tweets and from just our own understanding of Kanye's discography and the development of art, I would imagine that concepts that were part of TurboGrafx 16 somehow manifested on other aspects of maybe Ye or other singles that were released, or maybe even parts of Yandhi. It's just like somebody may start a short story and not finish it, but there's concepts in the short story that you pull out and put into the next work that you do. You may take 3 of the 5 and put it in this next thing, then another 1 of the 5 and put it in another, then another 1 of the 5. So it's like that thing may have never been finished, but the germ of the idea and some of the details then express themselves later. I think you can look at Kanye's early mixtapes for an example of that. That there were tracks on the early mixtapes that ended up inspiring future songs, or that ended up being revamped and released on College Dropout or Late Registration. So you can kind of see how he had these concepts and then applied them. Another version would be Last Call, right? Like he talks about like went to Jacob with 25 thou. You go to something like $5,000 wow. Like he ended up using that line at a later space and time. Actually ended up using it on Last Call, right? It was something that he had used on a song that was on a mixtape and then reformed it. Does that make sense? I think I've been talking for way too long. Favorite song off Life of Pablo, Ultra Light Beam. Just for my curiosity, what were the other 2 release dates? So this gets at what? Do you or Ye even know Yandhi's release date? Does Ye have a date in mind, or is he just going to drop it whenever he feels like it's done? It's changed like 4 times so far. I think he just needs to let that shit bust. October, and then Kim tweeted a date. Then it was December, and then Black History Month. So I think that's the first confirmation that February looked like it was going to be a drop zone for Yandhi. I know hype had been building since end of January, but Malik's kind of confirming that February for Black History Month seemed like it was going to be a date for Yandhi. Hopefully still, but from the tweets from today, it doesn't sound like February could be off the table. Why is the creative process so much different than it used to be for him in regardless of timely releases and rollouts? The squad is different. We don't all be together every day no more, which is true. Like as everybody's gone their own way, it's been what, like 15 years that Kanye's been doing this, and Kanye and his like group of people that help him with this shit, they've all started having families. They've all started going out in their own projects. It is harder to get together. And when that's part of the process, you kind of have these longer periods between getting work done. And Kanye has everything he's doing with Yeezy and fashion and as a parent. So it's not like he's working on music 12 hours a day. If he only has 4 hours a day for it, what used to take him a day now takes 3 days. And now you're adding in any delays from however many days it takes Malik to do what he's going to do, or GLC to look at something, or any of that. And it just starts to become a much longer process. How would you rate Yandhi compared to his other albums? It's in a stage of discombobulation, last I heard. So I will reserve my judgment and critique. If I'm on it, though, I'll probably like it a lot better. Yeah, that makes sense. What's holding it back? Label issues. It's always so much to unpack with Ye, though. I hope we figure it out. Has Kanye been working on Yandhi since before Ye came out? No. That again. Is Cruel Winter dropping? It exists, so y'all know how bro do, though. Could be tonight, could be never, just as easily. Yeah. But that's confirmation that the album was finished. It's wild that we haven't actually gotten it then, when it was so close to being done. You'd hope someone would just be like, Kanye, let me finish it. Just give me Cruel Winter. I'll finish it. You can then okay it, but like, let's get this shit out there. Anthony asks, how do you and Ye feel about the snippet from the Game's new track about Kim? Totally disrespectful and uncalled for, in my opinion. Kanye gave that man hits, and he knows Ye doesn't do rap beef, so using his name for plays lost respect for Game. Yeah, the line's just about, like, Game sleeping with Kim and bragging about it. Like, not just like, hey, I had a thing with Kim, but like, yo, fuck you, I fucked Kim. Where you're just like, yo, what the... Dude, what? Why? Like, why? Why? When we spoke yesterday, he told me that it was hurtful. I'm on standby awaiting his instructions. That shit is hurtful. Fucking Game. Aesthetic ass ethics is back again. The Sacramento rant exists. I love it and agree with his points. My question is, does Yandhi break conventions? Allow for 10-minute songs or minute songs or transitions and skits, making it unusable to radio? Do know that a finished work is a lot different than a work in progress. So today could be a 30-minute orchestral song in motif mode, but then as it is coded for a proper release. Yeah, I mean, Runaway had a 20-minute version. I repeat, Runaway had a 20-minute version. I need that shit. I need to inject it into my veins. So like Pablo them, but like as far as structure goes, not sound, obviously. I haven't actually looked at what this was about. Oh, if you could describe Yandhi, chaotic order. Okay. Correct. So like Pablo them, but like as far as structure goes, not sound, obviously. Okay. And then this was me talking about Nino Blue and just saying, you know, we're excited to talk with Malik in an interview, which we've been trying to schedule for a couple months, but him being in LA and us not being in LA, it's been a little hard to get the dates down. Also with me planning a wedding. But Malik just saying yes sir me as well. So, hey, hopefully that happens soon. And that's it. Oh my God, we fucking did it. We went through all of that shit. So a quick note, if you want to support the podcast and the YouTube channel, we're trying to get new sound equipment and shit's very expensive. For the 3 pieces of equipment we need, and 2 of each, a set for myself, a set for Travis, to get the next level of sound quality that's like the professional grade, which is what other podcasts use. And we're a professional podcast. We've had 250 episodes over that. We've been doing this for 3.5 years. Felix the cat is down here now. If you want to hear Felix in all his glory, we need some new equipment. This mic is the first mic that I got 3.5 years ago, and it's on the fritz. Like, I'm terrified every time I record that I'm going to come out sounding like a chipmunk, because it's happened multiple times now. Which just kind of means the videos are useless. So this is for the YouTube channel. It's for the podcast. Trust me, the next thing I do after we get the audio equipment is upgrade the video equipment. Like, get a nice sitting area rather than just photos and stairs. Get some lighting so then it's not just this. So we're almost there. We have 21 days left. We have under $1,000 to go. So if you're able to donate anything, $1, $5, that's incredibly helpful. Otherwise, just keep watching the channel. That's also very helpful. Liking and subscribing and just watching is the easiest way you can support what it is we're doing. Currently, we get about $1 per video, which is nice. But the more that you watch, the more that you like and subscribe, those things all go into how much the videos make. But if you have any extra that you want to throw our way, this would be much appreciated. We have 4 things that we're kind of are the perks. For $5, you get a shout out on the podcast or on the YouTube channel. For $10, you get a shout out, and we'll also shout out your business, your social media handle, a loved one, a short message, anything like that that you want us to shout out. And then for $50, you get to join a special episode council where you get to help us construct an episode of your choice, which is kind of cool. So there's only 20 spots of that available. And you'll also be part of a group that we go to for some creative decision making and just this elite collective of people along with our Patreon backers. And then for $100, you can have your story shared. So I talked about the story with Nino Blue earlier. We're going to do a story with Malik at some point. We've interviewed fans. We've interviewed people that have worked with Kanye. We've interviewed journalists and other educators and things about Kanye. So if you want to join that illustrious group and make sure that you have your story done, this is the easiest way to do it. We currently have a very long backlog, so you kind of get to pay to cut the line. There are currently 2 spots left if you want to hop on that. I think there are 2 spots left, right? Yeah. Oh no, 1 spot left. So only 1 story left. We may open it up for more because that's where most of the money's come from. But if you want that to be a reality, then go ahead and jump on that now. The link will be down in the info. Otherwise, per usual, I very much appreciate you watching, liking, subscribing, all of that. And if you have any requests for videos, let me know in the comments. And if I don't get to it right away, just keep badgering me because I can be slow about looking at comments. But repetition helps. Until then, I hope you all have a great day, and we'll talk soon. Stay wavy.